Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you hear my tone, then you know that it is another week again. And this week may be a little mixed. For some people, maybe well off, and some people maybe actually worse than where you was before. It all depends on your portfolio allocation. Before jumping into the stock market, I want to give you a high sight on Bitcoin currency. So if you look at it, this is what the market been talking about. A few months ago when Bitcoin BTC in particular went back up to $64,000 and lately have dropped back to 33,000. At one point, it actually even hit here below the point, to below $32,000 there. And then obviously over weekend at a moment of Sunday right now, it is around $34,000. I personally think Bitcoin is okay if you want to do a little bit for long-term investment, but just bear in mind that what China have cracked down that the Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies or digital currency, that was a technical saying, it's not very, not legal, and they are taking those down, and then the factory or places that were trying to generate utilities, state government did warn them that they would took them down if they don't do it themselves, and that's causing that a lot of Asian cryptocurrencies will actually went down significantly. One of them was BNA actually. I bought it at 40 cents RMB, and now it gone down to 10 cents. So it wasn't really necessarily the place to be. And with bear in mind, with yield curve continue to drive the lowest ever in American history, 1.23%, and U.S. currency have been actually got stronger. Because of the federal policy and supply and demand. Just have to bear in mind, in my opinion, when those went, when the current yield curve down, U.S. dollar strong, Bitcoin currency is very hard to continue to break through and get higher. So, if you maintain around this level, maybe it's really good. And you can consider whether you want to go into the market or not, because there's a lot of institutional investors still want to build the ETF, still want to do more, underlying asset of Bitcoin and creating department on to grow the business for those commercial bank. So there's maybe still room to do, but bear in mind those companies who make money a lot of time is based on the spread, and also just providing the services. So regardless of the value of the currency, they're still going to be take benefit of it. For look at PayPal, for example, the stock have now close to $300 a share. So yeah, it's really still because Bitcoin is still a very cryptocurrency is still a very solid, strong revenue for them. So I mean, if you look at the spread and look at the volume, do the multiply, it doesn't need to be a rocket scientist to figure that out, right? So now, having said all the Bitcoin, in my opinion, move it into the stock market. The stock market is cheer for the momentum for the future, but apparently slipped back with a waiting of fast action rate. U.S. stock closed mixed on Tuesday after S&P 500 ended a 7-day win streak with crude oil jumped the highest since 2015. I mean, Monday was a holiday for us. Share of Amazon were up nearly 5% Tuesday to record high, while Apple jumped about 2%. Didi, which is a Chinese giant, one of the giants IPO compared to Alibaba after Alibaba has pledged more than 20% on Tuesday from $18 intraday high. Airline and cruise stock went down popularly given the concern of pandemic Delta. Gold rose 0.8% to 1797.60. Obviously, the end of the week was even jumped higher than 1800. Japan's Nikkei dropped 0.96%, while Australia SX 200 climbed 0.9%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index dipped 0.68%, while the Shanghai Composite rose to 0.66%. The South Korea KOSPI declined 0.6%. So I say Asian market kind of mixed. The June headline ASM Services PMI slipped to 60.1 from 60.4 previous month. Therefore, market will retreat from high in futures to lower landscape on Wednesday. Amazon.com jumped 4% after Pentagon said it would cancel the $10 billion cloud computing contract award exclusive Microsoft, and net Microsoft and Amazon bid again after the later challenge initial awarding of the contract. The benchmark 10-year yield fell to its lowest level since February, which helped Nasdaq moving up higher. Gains on energy stock with reviews on oil prices turned negative and concern inflating poses a risk to the overall production accord. Baidu, BIDU, Alibaba, Baba, BABA, and JD.com, JD was sharply lower after a fear of tighter high-tech control by Chinese government. So again, that's coming from the DIC where you talk about the apps and the investigation going on. So he's asking pull it down, and basically what it is, that Didi was stealing information from the consumer. I actually personally think, not because I'm on the side of Chinese government, this is a good thing, right? I mean, you can't attempt to say, well, Chinese government does this thing from nowhere or wherever. It is, I mean, while American talking about, well, we want to protect our personal, the protection clause of privacy and information, while Chinese government saying, well, these enterprises in China cannot steal information as well to do it and then start the marketing advertisement. I actually get really bored on, this is one thing I'm really, really mad, and I think U.S. government should do something and never do something, is when I'm applying for job now for better job, I got a lot of fraud and scam. People call me for nothing, send me all this weird stuff, talking about, even renew, no more stimulus check. We'll get an email tell you, hey, you got entitled to stimulus check. Where are these coming from? These are a lot of these were coming from the job I applied for those sites that sell my information to somebody else. So why U.S. government not govern that, right? So sometimes I want to let you guys understand it is, if you take a neutral position, forget about the country, no label of country, talk about policy, and this is the end of what happened. While the investor they got mad, obviously, because the value gone down from $18 now to $12. I think Friday closed at around $12.12. You lost money potentially. Well, the policy itself was really protecting the consumers, which are really, they're really without agreement and consensus. The personal information should not be sold, period, right? And that's the cases on Facebook where actually they won the antitrust case, whatever, but still there are a lot of lawsuits going on with these high-tech companies as well in Europe. If you would study, it's all about protecting consumer rights and information. So something to learn and think through, right? I don't make that up. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to say right or wrong, but for you guys to go and look and compare amount, and if you don't put a label, again, no country, no, just study the policy and the case, right? Bowl out all the names and everything. And then you will ask yourself, wait, whether that makes sense or not, all right? You can go and argue and I think the timing, but that's a different story, okay? US dollar losses were limited to Japanese yen as a greenback traded higher against euro and other major other currency. The sell-off in the euro was compounded by weaker Eurozone data. The worst performing currency was Canadian dollar, which was hit by the turn in oil prices. You can look at that, but that's Wednesday prices, so Canadian dollar may get stronger, for Wednesday and Friday, which is worst performing currency compared to US dollars on that day. Bitcoin was up 2.6 to 34,827, which is around the same now on Sunday, as it continued trading band between the $32,000 and $35,000. On the third meeting, various participants mentioned that they expected the conditions for beginning to reduce the pace of asset purchases to be met somewhat earlier than they had anticipated or previous meeting. The US dollar edged high, slightly higher on the back of the release. Okay, again, this is for you to think about. In my previous video, I'm backing up Yellen and Fred, right? And the reason behind, and Powell, is because of the job employment. It is not as strong and as good as the news said, okay? American is big, but you got to look and dissect the information. Look at your family, look at your friends, look at where you're at, asking people around, just do a survey of your own to see how many people lost their job and get job back, what is the pay they're getting now compared to before they got laid off. These statistics, if you collected it and look at the government data, compare, you got a different answer sometimes, different picture. Well, what does that mean, right? So again, no manipulation. People can manipulate data all the time, right? I have done job in my career. It's called data analyst or financial reporting, whatever you want to call it, right? In reality, what we're always saying is we globalize. We take the bad data out because it's exceptions, right? And say, how does it look and compare to what it is? So a lot of time the manipulation, you have to be careful what you're reading on the news today, right? I'm not saying the right or wrong again, right? I mean, I would not dispute either that more jobs definitely have created since the beginning of the pandemic, right? There's no dispute on that. But the pay, I'm not very keen on that. If it is the case, then the question is where they're coming from. Well, it probably because of those low-end people saying, well, $7.25 is a minimum range. I think in Texas is $7.50 minimum range. Well, now I look at Ross in Texas, they hire people for $12, right? But here's the trick. What does the $12 mean? Am I implying the application turning in I get $12 an hour? No, because they say it's based on experience. So somebody could get $9, somebody may get $13, right? So you have to be very careful again how they are marketing and advertising in that, right? On average, I would not dispute, right? So because I heard a story about Amazon, well, $15 an hour, $20 an hour for being a truck driver. Well, it is better than the job that I had, probably, you know. But the question is it true? What you need to do differently? What kind of hard work you have to do to get that $20 an hour, right? So I don't like the fact that people were trying to manipulate. So in my video, I always tell you, I'm telling you what I know to the best of my knowledge. You have to kind of research, do your due diligence, and also follow me for a period of time on the markets to see what I said makes sense or not to you, right? Because there's no right or wrong answer in life on a lot of things, right? It is now anticipated fourth quarter of 2011 instead of next year. Anyway, people say next year, then what happened? Think about it, election time. So now we're saying 2011, the end of the fourth quarter, is a true story or not, right? And the other question too is, here's the funny part, right? I always seen this Fed talking no interest rate change till 2023. Now you want to move up the timeline. So does it make any sense? Is this any credibility issue on that, right? That is another question. While people were attending China and say Chinese government no credibility, they want to do whatever they want. Well, what is this U.S. government is doing? You told me no interest rate change 2023. Well, then you have a Fed meeting all the time and talk about this. And then they say, well, things are wonderful now. I need to move up my schedule. Well, then where's your credibility? Meaning what it means is today you can tell me something. Next month could be different. How can I trust the government? That is something to think about, right? I really respect the government. I really respect the way how it runs. But sometimes, does that make any sense, right? We have to be a little bit careful about that. Maybe we cannot change anything, but when you come to election time, you know what to go for and what you have to raise your voice about, right? Given the recent disappointment in service sector activity wage growth, you still need to wait longer before making a move. Market was pulled back Thursday after a disappointing initial jobless claim number, which kind of tied to what I just said earlier. Furthermore, investors become more cautious in recent weeks as signs have emerged that global growth may be slightly softer than anticipated as countries continue to battle coronavirus. Bank felt the pain of plummeting rate, with Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Goldman Sachs falling 2%. Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and Apple below the Fed line. Amazon, however, but go to trend to trade higher. But you know what? That was just Thursday. Then Friday, it was pretty good with good faith, bullish, and all rebounded. So oil stock and bank were actually reversing. I will conclude it for the weekend, but at least keep going. The dollar index remained relatively strong despite the foreign U.S. Bond yield. Again, this is kind of what I just talked about earlier too. It slipped 0.08% to 92.58. So it was very, very, very strong because there was a period of time it fell below 90. When the yield curve was around 1.5. Let's talk about we need to print more money and things are not looking great. Oil slipped to around $73 and Bitcoin also tumbled as US dollar was stronger. Global shares stabilized on Friday after broad equity sell-off in US the previous day. Asia equity market have a mixed section on Friday as COVID-19 case in the region continue to rise and lockdown restriction extend and sharpen. The Shanghai Composite closed 0.4% down while Nikkei 225 fell by 0.63%. Hong Kong Hang Seng Index gained 0.62%. This is probably because of the reversal you have really oversell off in Hong Kong market. Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan Trust again big winner on Friday again, and Tesla stock also benefit from the string of semiconductor. TSL Tesla rebound from the Thursday dip to end lower, still at $656.95, while same paying XPEV trades slightly lower than $40 after Hong Kong IPO. Oil prices climb again, and then you hit at $74.69 for close $75. Gold rose to over 1,800 at the end of the week. Overall, Dow Jones was up 0.24% as 34,876.16, up 83.81 points. Nasdaq was up 0.43% at 14,701.92, up 62.59 points. And S&P 500 was up 0.40% at 4352.34, despite the volatility of the week. They were all higher than a month ago. Okay, if you look at check it yourself. Okay, according to the health agency, estimate that Delta variant became dominant in the country over 2 weeks, ended July 3rd with 51.7 cases linked to the variant that was identified in India. All I'm trying to tell you is in US, we didn't hear much about Delta. We say it's well contained, no worry, but I want to share some facts with you that is actually now about, this is totally quoted by the health agency, okay? I didn't make it up. It was 51.7% cases now linked to the Delta. The stock market in the early half of the year notched a serious record high, but recent economic data such as labor shortage have caused some investors to worry about momentum and recovery. Well, this is probably not a right statement, so ignore that, I mean, the shortages should be a good news, and I personally would say this, right? How to solve a labor shortage? Raise your pay, right? If you are an employer, you're not willing to pay more money, well, then that's your problem. It's supposed to be cost of the business, right? That's just a simple mathematic, no dispute, right? And then if you say, oh, we pay more, like 20% addition still cannot really get people go work for me, well, then that may be a problem. But before the news media saying labor shortage and use two news and flooded to the market, let people saying, well, they're really time to move on, find a new job, whatever, right? Some people will just quit and find a job. It's not a good move. You got to be careful, right? What kind of job you have? Are they really hiring people? Have more job you're seeing? If you look at the market out there, it's really more, right? And of course, the question again is, have they raised the salary because they say labor shortages, right? Like chip shortages. What is the solution? You hear that all along with the news, but they don't tell you how they're solving it and what's the impact if they use that solution to solve the problem. So we become a very different country these days, right? In America, we used to be a country saying, hey, we'll brainstorm it. We have a problem, we brainstorm a solution, we go after for it. Now today, people just tell you there's a problem out there, and they will make it big. Well, now what? So what's the deal, right? So we need to truly think about labor shortage. Where, right? In Texas, I don't feel like there's a labor shortage. In fact, unemployment rate in Texas, from my friend looked at it and told me that it was actually higher than the national average. So that question that need to be think through and understanding it before really telling people this is what's happening, right? Because it may be one or two we call exceptional cases. At least people used to say that, right? So where's the statistic? Of course, we don't spend time studying that. So we rely on the news, and hopefully the news is based on true fact and enough statistic and data to support it, right? And regardless, go back to the stock market, we're still saying we were sitting record high, and we still believe that it's not time to hit the panic mode on Thursday when the market actually flip and put it down with some Delta concerns so on, right? This is coming from the, again, it's code from the E-Trade Financial coming with that, okay? CIO at Commonwealth Financial Network said Thursday downturn is normal. Corporate earning likely to grow sharply in third quarter, especially interest rates still low. So if you have deployed strategy, right, going back to the overall strategy, people who follow me, what I told you about the dip, right, what's the percentage calculation? I say 5% because now it's going to be more than that. You will actually bought it last Thursday, right? Or maybe a little earlier than that, and you'll profit approximately 2 to 3% for now, right? Because you look at the week, well, on average, it's kind of up 1.7%, but the stock that I own actually will outperform the average. Chinese stock not doing very well at the moment. Like I said, you always have to hold it. We're looking for the long term, probably third quarter and fourth quarter when the GDP materialize in China, and hopefully the Delta doesn't really make a lot of impact in Guangdong province and China overall, and the manufacturing and production still continue strong. So those are the things that need to think about out there as a potential risk, right? And then as long as there's no outbreak in US for Delta, which we haven't seen it yet, although there's some cases were there, and 50% attribute is coming from this new virus versus the old one. Band proved to be resilient and beat the estimate. Well, we will find out that, right? We think about this coming week, and I truly believe they are, and then it was saying they're going to have share buyback if they pass a stress test. So then no surprises. So we'll see how the market reacted to that. And then there will be a more momentum to drive the overall investing environment. So as long as the macroeconomic factors look good, and I know Biden have executed some order over last week. I didn't read the news and talk about the $1 trillion, remember, which going to use it on the road construction, education, and infrastructure of America. I mean, this money will go somewhere with all these companies like Bowling, like I said, Caterpillar. I mean, probably something related electional defense company as well. So you will see some company will have even better revenue forecast adjustment probably going forward, right? And then you have these retail airline stuff is really indeed no concern of Delta, and business travel started to have a little bit going on, then you will see the outlook should be good looking on those as well, right? But again, things can change very quickly, which why a lot of people may not let's say buy on Friday. They typically worry about it, and because the weekend hanging there, don't know what's happening. But I didn't hear any bad news on the weekend, so I think Monday maybe we're in the market to pick it up. Asia market open at this point, so I can't tell you if the futures is positive now yet. But bear in mind, the fund manager also, that's another thing, right? Another thing to bear in mind. Fund manager had just finished a window dressing, right? They changed their allocation with S&P 500 and Russell 2000. So if I'm the fund manager, I just switch my stock, which means I sold the one I don't want and buy the one I needed, like XPEV probably as one of the example, because you're going to go to entire and meet that to Russell 2000, and so does HYLN, the stock that I mentioned, a few of them made it to the Russell 2000, will be make it to the Russell 2000, put it that way. They wouldn't sell it before he made it there, and then restructuring of the allocation percentage tied to these funds, right? So that tells you and suggests you that the market shouldn't have sell off, right? If it is, it's not going to be these people against somebody else to sell off or stuff that they hold for a long time that then now they think it's okay to sell them out, right? Because otherwise, what's the point of doing the window dressing and then just keep all the stock and then they didn't get rid of it. So they probably already sold them, and if they are, they probably will be allocated and systematically look at the way how they will profit from what they just have. If the market gone up and not 20%, obviously, they may sell them up. But a lot of time, fund manager always tell you as well is they are long term, right? Their strategy is not like me teaching this small investor short term. You make 20%, you should walk this stock. Have been on the deep buy it, you make it 10%, 50% walk. While some stock you can hold in long term, like XPEV 2023 profitability turnout. The growth stock like AI, which is going to look forward to the future, right? So make it feel specific in my in my video to help you as an investor understanding the short-term, medium-term, and long-term visions, right? So they are typical long-term, so the stuff should be holding on. And with if you look at a month ago, what people were mostly concerned about was Nasdaq because of the yield curve. Well, now yield curve is lowest than ever, and the news suddenly keeps saying it's a bad news because the yield curve is now too low. You think about how does that make sense, right? You as an investor think, a month ago somebody just told me when yield curve 1.75, that sucks. The market will lose a lot of money. Nasdaq keep putting pressure. Deep went down, breaking 14,000 point, or actually 13,000, right? Well, now it's over 14,000. And the market Thursday saying it's bad. I'm like, how in the world that makes sense? People were trying to get a lot of justification, explain the market up to the fact, but sometimes you need to look at the story, what they told you, and a month or 2 months ago, and now and in the future. I will believe what you're listening from my video, if you're a follower of me, you know I have been very consistent with my message. I've been very consistent with my strategy to share with you. I've been very consistent to tell you the news that you need to do some due diligence. I've been very consistent to tell you as soon as I know about some news that changing the dynamics of the investment, like Chinese stock, and like the profitability, what you need to take in, like the insight of what I'm seeing in the future. And I'm still thinking July and August could be probably bullish, but after that, you really need to take a look and see, and you really should start shifting your portfolio. Don't put too much of small and growth stock, but to be a solid stock like even FAANG, right? But you need to be careful where you put in there. And given that, if you have listened to me and believe in the last week, you probably bought Apple. Apple have been gone up to $145 now, right? But it's still not a lot if you do the math. It's still not 10%, maybe 7%, because 132 was the low end, right? In 1 week, you're up overall 7%, not too bad, but if you look at some of the stock, they actually did better than that, right? So again, you have to look at your strategy to determine what is good for you, how many percent you're happy, short term or long term. If you look at long term view, yeah, Apple gonna build Apple Car. People believe Apple Car is a great brand. They're gonna create a new iPhone again coming up this year. I think iPhone 13. So there's a lot of strong things that you can take out of that. Now, are they overvalued? Well, again, a lot of stock at this point, a lot of overvaluation. So if you hear the market will tell you, and a lot of market story you hear, they don't talk about valuation anymore at the moment, right? Now, when the market depressed, they think this crash, yes, they will go back to market valuations lesson again, because they believe the fundamentals is what driving what the future is. However, I told you that, in the new generation, you need to don't look at old people, right? Old school. Look at all the young people, all the new generation, new millennium. How did they trade stock? How did they see future? That may give you some clue. They don't see these number a high number, right? And the only time the market could crash at this moment would be really because of the funds selling off, right? Because they say, I hold Apple when about 100. Well, now with the split, it's worth 600. 5 times return for my investor. Well, I think the market was overvalued. I would sell, right? From an individual investor's perspective, you ask people, they still believe Apple is a good company. Well, now $140, I can buy it. I can wait for 5 years. That car coming up, iPhone continue to be strong. Chinese market continue to be up and strong. Just like Nike went up to $160 because the Chinese market remained to be strong, right? That were previous quarter missing that. So so the retail seems to be still very solidly stand at this moment, because they do see people, with more money and pay were willing. The consumer confidence index also indicated a higher number than previous quarter, right? So having all said that, I am looking forward to next week. If not next week, but within this month, the market continue to be strong. There could be some day that could dip. You have to look at your growth stock very carefully as well, because when we say market momentum strong, is indicated all the fundamental strong company, definitely, with some Nasdaq that could be burning cash but have a good outlook aspect. You have to see what you own and shuffle it through to make sense for you. I hope this video helpful. I hope the stock I recommended in the past help you make money. And then again, your rule of thumb for short term is 20% you walk, right? 15, 20. Don't get too greedy on that. And you still outperform the market. The market at the quarter, at a year-to-date basis, still only index-wise, only up 12%. So if you make more than that, you still beat the market. Okay? Have a nice and wonderful weekend, and I hope you enjoy my video. Give me a like and send me an email if you have any questions.